Hi Manal. So today we are starting off with chapter 4, that is cost classification. So in cost classification, there are some basic terms that we need to understand before we move towards the discussion. The main term that we need to discuss is cost objects. Cost objects relates to that product or that service or that department or that office or that branch, etc., on which the cost is being incurred. So if you're making a product and for that product you have to buy raw material, so that raw material is going to be the cost of making that product. Therefore, the final product that you're planning to produce becomes a cost object. Similarly, if the labor is working for you to be able to produce the final product and sell it in the market and earn profits from it, so that final product becomes the cost object. Why? Because you have to make the labor work on that product, and then you have to pay the employees for it. Yeah. Therefore, it becomes a cost objective. Why? Because the cost is being incurred because of it. Are we clear?
Yes.
Now moving towards cost units. A cost unit is specifically that product or service for which the cost is going to be incurred. For example, they have mentioned a room in a hotel. So the main reason why a hotel gets income or makes money is that room only. They give their room on rent basically, and then they charge the person who is living in that room for a night or for a day, depending on different hotels. Some charge for the day, some charge for the night. But the product that they're offering is the room. So any cost that they would have to incur is on that room only. So that room becomes the cost unit. Okay. Similarly, the product that you would be making for your company and you will sell it in the market and you will earn revenue from it. Now, because you have produced that product in your company, you would have incurred some cost, right? So that product becomes a cost unit of it. Okay. The cost object and the cost unit could be one and the same thing. Now we have cost centers. Cost centers relates to the department or the function or the branch in which the cost is being incurred. So let's say I am working in finance department, and because I'm working in finance department, I have to use internet connection, I have to use a laptop, I have to turn off the electricity. So the electricity bill, the Wi-Fi bill, if I am drinking water, so I need um, a dispenser for the water, or I need some source of water. So even that is going to account for a cost because everything costs, right? Even water costs something. So the reason for that water usage or for that electricity usage or for that Wi-Fi usage is the finance department only. Therefore, finance department becomes a cost center. Okay. Now, cost card includes all the costs, all the range of costs or all the lists of costs that are going to be incurred while producing a product or while doing production in a company. So that includes direct material cost. Direct material cost relates to those raw materials that you are going to buy from the supplier. So let's say if you want to make a table, okay, and you want to make a wooden table, and for that you need 5 pieces of wood. Now every table is going to need 5 pieces of wood. You can't do anything to reduce the wood. So when you go to the supplier and tell him, I want to make a table of wood and I need 5 pieces of wood. Now this 5 pieces, if each of them costs you $1, so 5 into 1 becomes total $5. This becomes your direct material cost. This $5 is per unit. Why per unit? Because this is for one table. Your unit is being counted as the table. Okay. So if you go to buy the material for 2 units, which means you will now be buying 10 wooden pieces. 5 for one table, 5 for the other table. So 10 into 1 costs you $10. Okay. This is
Okay.
direct material. Why is it called direct? And why is it just not called material? Direct means anything that is directly linked with the production of your product. So like I mentioned, I'm going to buy one piece for $1. So if I want to buy 5 pieces for the table, that would cost me $5. So this is direct. I know the price for each and every unit or each and every piece of wood. Okay.
Okay.
Indirect, on the other hand, would be if I am saying that, okay, there's a rent that I have to bear that cost me $20,000. Now, this rent I have to bear anyway, even if I produce, even if I don't produce. Why? Because I've done a contract. This becomes my fixed cost. Therefore, this is also called indirect cost. Why? Because this is not linked with any production. I took a place for rent. Now, if I produce, my fixed cost per unit will reduce. Yes. But if I do not produce anything, I have to bear that $20,000 still. Even if I produce, even then I have to bear the $20,000. But the thing is that as I start production, as I start selling goods into the market, I will earn some profit, so I can easily cover the $20,000 of fixed cost from that. But if I don't produce anything, I don't sell anything in the market, all of that 20,000 will be borne by my own pocket. Okay. Similarly, direct labor. Every labor works a certain number of hours. So let's say if you tell them that I'm going to pay you $2 per hour and they're working 10 hours, this would cost you $20. So this is increasing with the amount of hours and it is decreasing with the amount of hours. And we know that, okay, 5 hours is going to be utilized for production of one table. Okay.
Okay.
So this becomes 2 into 5, $10. $10 would be the cost for producing one wooden table. Any confusion on this?
No.
Direct expenses. Direct expenses are any expenses that are linked with the production.
Okay.
So let's say that you are using machinery to produce the table, let's say. Now, if that machinery works 5 hours, so in those 5 hours, it is making one table, let's say. So 5 hours into whatever the rate per hour is for the machinery, let's say it is $3. So 5 into 3, $15 is the cost of direct expenses because you produced one unit of table. Okay.
So the rent, suppose if we are using rent, that also comes under direct expenses, yeah?
No. That is indirect
Okay.
because that
Plus.
is in total, right? That is not per unit. That is in total.
Okay.
So when you add all these direct costs, you come up to prime cost. If you see, they have written total direct cost is
Yes.
equals to prime cost. Now, after the prime cost, you're going to add variable production overheads into the prime cost. You're going to add fixed production overheads into the prime cost. You're going to add non-production overheads into the prime cost. And this would become total cost. Okay.
What's an overhead?
Overheads are expenses. These are basically indirect expenses.
Okay.
Why do we call them indirect? Because they are not related to the per unit or per hour basis. Let's look at this example. It says a cost card for a handmade wooden train set is shown below. The cutting and assembly department and the painting department are cost centers. One handmade wooden train set is a cost unit, but may also be classed as a cost object. Direct materials include wood, paint. And if you see, for wood, they are using 5 meters square of material, and every meter square costs you 2.5. So 2.5 into 5 costs you 12.5. Okay.
Okay.
And then paint. For paint, 0.1 liters are being used at $10 per liter. So this becomes 0.1 into 10. This would be $1. Now for labor also, for cutting and assembly department, they have 0.5 hours at $6 per hour. So 0.5 into 6 becomes 3. Then painting department, same thing they have given. But if you notice, they are giving it to you per hour or per meter or per liter this way. Okay.
Okay.
This shows that this is direct. Okay. Now, if you see license fee at $2 per train set, this is again direct. Now, variable production overheads are also generally given per. Variable cost is generally considered to be direct only. But the only reason why I have written it after prime cost is because this is not linked directly with
In the
production.
product.
By
Okay.
directly, I mean that these are not the immediate materials that are being used for production. Yes, you are using electricity. Yes, you're using Wi-Fi. Yes, you're using the water. Yes, you're using the fuel. But this is not something that you immediately bought for the final product. Like if I remove materials, would I be able to make the final product? No. If I remove labor, if I tell labor not to work, would I be able to make my product? No. If I remove the license fee, would I be able to make my product? No. Okay. So these are the immediate products, the immediate materials, the immediate labor that I desperately need. Okay. Are you clear?
Yes.
Now, variable production overhead generally has the per unit nature. Variable cost is often given to you as per unit. Let's say $2 per unit. Okay. But fixed production is often given to you in total. Over here, if you see, it is given per labor hour. But right now, they're just showing you the cost count. Generally, the fixed production overheads are mostly given in total. If they are given in per hour or per unit or per square meter, etc., then they have been converted into per hour or per unit or per liter basis. They originally are in total only. Okay.
Okay.
So over here we had to compute the cost per unit, which is why they gave you the fixed production overheads in per unit. But if it would have asked for total, then they would have given the fixed production overheads as total only. But for variable production overheads, they would have still given you $7 per hour, $6 per hour. You would have to multiply it by the units to get the total. Okay?
Okay.
Makes sense?
Yes.
Now, total production cost was included, was computed. If you see, they have mentioned absorption. Why is it mentioned as absorption? Absorption costing and marginal costing are two different techniques. of dealing with overheads. Now,
Okay.
absorption says that when you are computing the cost of the product, include variable plus fixed costs. Variable is that activity or that cost that is going to increase or decrease with the level of activity. Fixed cost is such that is not going to increase or decrease with the level of activity. It remains constant. Okay. So absorption says that do include fixed overheads plus variable overheads when you are computing the cost per unit. But marginal says no. The decision making will be done on the basis of variable cost. Why? Because when we talk about per unit basis, so fixed cost is never in per unit. You have to make it into per unit. But generally, fixed cost nature is such that it remains fixed despite the level of activity. So marginal says that I'm just going to include the variable costs and I'm going to take the decision on that basis. But absorption says that I'm going to include variable plus fixed. So if you see over here, all these costs are variable costs. Adding them together, it got total variable marginal production cost. Then you added fixed production overheads to get total production absorption cost. Okay.
Yeah.
And then when you add non-production overheads as well, so it will come up to total cost. Okay.
Okay.
Any confusion?
No.
Okay. Now this was just to give you an idea about how to compute things and all. I am not going into the details of what is mentioned over here. Right now, I'm going to go into the details later on. Let's first discuss the nature and all. So cost can be classified in 4 different ways. Element. What is the cost related to? Whether the cost is related to the material or labor or expenses, which we have already seen in the cost part. What is the nature of the cost? Is it direct cost? Is it indirect cost? What is the function of the cost? Is it related to production cost? Like is it being incurred because of production? Or is it a non-production cost? By non-production, we mean that let's say electricity, let's say fuel, let's say Wi-Fi, all of that.
Okay.
Behavior tells you that is the cost such that it is going to increase with the level of activity or decrease with the level of activity, or is it going to stay constant? Okay.
Okay.
Now, when you know that, okay, this is how you're going to be able to classify your cost, you'll understand the cost better. Now, classification by element. So, in materials, I told you that all the materials that are purchased for production or for non-production relate to materials. Production materials are direct materials. Non-production materials are indirect materials. Why? Because they are not directly being used for production. For example, if I am making a table, the wood would be the direct material. It is being used directly. The nails, you know that in order to attach the wood together to assemble it into a table, you need nails. You know what nails are, right? The steel nails that
Yeah.
you drill it. So the nails are your indirect material. Why? Because you are going to buy a pack of nails. Now nails are such immaterial uh, items. Immaterial mean that they cost so less that you can't go on to compute the per unit cost of every nail. You can't do that. If you go to buy the nails, they say that okay, this is a pack of 50, let's say, and you just buy it. You don't ask, okay, what is the cost of one nail, and can I buy just 5 nails because I just need 5 nails? He's going to be saying that no, you can't do that. Either buy the pack or just leave it. Why? Because it is of such a low value. It is such an immaterial item that there's no point of buying it separately. Okay. Similarly, there is no point of um, computing the cost of it separately. Are we clear?
Yes.
Now labor. All staff is going to be mentioned on the payroll of the company, but there are some people who are directly involved into production. How are they directly involved into production? That is the main question. Now, some are actually assembling the product, they're making the product. And some are those who are just supervising the other people who are making the product. That supervisor is not involved directly into production, he's just overlooking. He's just checking whether the quality is being maintained or not. Yeah?
Yeah.
So he is going to be an indirect labor. But the other person who is directly involved becomes the direct labor. Any confusion?
No.
Now for expenses. Any expense that you're incurring directly is going to be direct expense.
It includes rent here.
Yeah, that is basically non-production expense or indirect expense.
Okay.
Why? Because rent is something that it does not increase with the level of activity. Like if you make 1,000 units, you're not going to pay rent according to 1,000 units. No, you pay rent according to the floor area. So it is indirect expense.
So what about electricity?
Electricity does increase with the level of activity. By
Yeah.
level of activity, I don't mean that if you make 100 units, the electricity bill is going to be according to that. I mean that, okay, let's say I've turned on the electricity for 24 hours. The bill is going to increase. But if I reduce it to 12 hours, the bill is definitely going to decrease. Yeah. So in this case, production and non-production expense is going to be such that in the factory, if the cost is being incurred for electricity, this becomes production expense, right? Because factory is such a place where you produce the product. But if we talk about the electricity expense of the office, that is not a production expense. That is a non-production expense. Why? Because over there, the admin department is sitting and working, but they're not producing anything. They are providing the support. That is right, but they are not producing anything. Okay? In confusion?
No.
Okay. Now, classification by nature. Direct costs are those costs which can be directly identified by a cost unit or cost center. Like I mentioned, I'm buying 10 units of wood, 10 pieces of wood. So 10 pieces are being used in one table. So this is your direct material because you know how much is being used. If you don't know how much is being used, you just know that okay, buy a total of $50,000 of material. Whatever comes in $50,000, just buy it. This becomes indirect material. Why? Because we don't know how much are we using. We don't know how much are we buying in accordance with our amount. But we are still doing it. Make sense?
Yes.
All right. Same as the case for direct labor, same as the case for direct expenses. So I want you to just give it a quick read and tell me if there's any confusion in this.
What does the royalties paid to a designer mean?
Royalties are basically the fee that you have to pay when you take somebody's name. For example, if you have already built a brand and I come to you and I tell you, can you please let me work? Can you please let me open another branch of your shop? So you are giving me a franchise, right? I'll have to
Yeah.
pay you royalty or I'll have to pay you a franchise fee. Why? Because I'm using your name and I'm making money out of it.
Okay.
Coming towards indirect cost, I want you to take a read.
Yeah, understood.
Okay. Now coming towards classification by function. So I mentioned to you there are production costs and there are non-production costs. Production costs include most of the direct material, direct labor, direct expenses, variable production, all the ones that have production with it or are direct costs are going to be related to production. But non-production costs are such as administrative costs. What are these? I told you that admin is working in the office. So they are getting salaries out of it, right?
Yeah.
This is non-production cost, right? Because this is not directly related to production. Similarly, your supervisor is not producing the product. Therefore, his salary is going to be non-production cost. Selling cost is related to all the people who are working in the sales department, and if there is any cost that is incurring in that. Distribution cost relates to all the delivery costs. Finance cost relates to all the finance related costs, such as taking a finance, taking a loan, paying off the loan, all of that. Okay. Now, classification by behavior. So variable costs are those costs that are going to increase or decrease with the level of activity. That is what I told you. And I told you that it would be given like this, $2 per unit. Now, whatever the amount of activity is, you're going to multiply it by that and it is going to increase or decrease. Yes?
Yeah.
So if you see, when I multiplied it by 10, it became 20. When I multiplied it by 100, it increased to 200, which means that the total level of activity keeps, the total variable cost keeps increasing with the level of activity. Yeah.
Yeah.
But the per unit cost is remaining fixed. Yeah. The per unit cost is not increasing or decreasing.
Yeah.
If you see, this graph one shows total cost, which is why the graph is moving upwards. But when the graph 2 shows cost per unit, this is not moving with the level of activity. It is remaining constant. Why? Because you yourself saw that $2 is remaining constant. Okay.
Yeah.
Now moving towards some examples of variable costs. So if let's say somebody gives you a discount, you go to the supplier and you tell him that, okay, previously I was buying one unit from you, but now I want to buy in bulk. So he's going to be like, okay, then how about I give you discount over anything that you're buying above 50 units. So, or let's say according to the graph, let's do 10 units. Okay, so if you see over here, up till 10 units, the line was constant, but from 10 to 20 units, the line changed a bit. It changed its direction. And then from 20 units and above, it changed a bit more. Why? Because at more than 10 units, it was saying that, okay, I'm going to give you 5% of discount. At more than 20 units, he was saying, I'm going to give you 10% discount. What is he doing? He's trying to give you discount so that you increase the quantity of purchases. Are we clear?
Yes.
Now, the other one, it says discounts are received when total purchases exceed a certain level and all units purchased are invoiced at a cost, at a lower cost per unit. So they are saying that when you purchase 10 units, for the additional units, I'm going to give you a discount. How? They're saying that for the 10 units, you're going to pay me, okay? But after that, for if you're, let's say, buying 20 units in total, so for the first 10 units, I'm going to charge you this much. And then for the next 10 units, I'm going to charge you less. But the condition is that you buy 20 units in total.
Okay.
Now, if you see the fixed cost is a cost which is incurred for an accounting period. And it remains constant with the level of activity, it does not change. So if you see over here, the total cost is given and the line is constant. Why? Because I told you that it is given at 20,000 constant. But when you, let's say, start producing 100 units, you're going to divide this. Why? Because every unit will incur some charge of fixed cost, right? It is going to contribute towards some fixed cost. So 20,000 divided by 100 would give you $200 per unit of fixed cost. Why? Because you've just made 100 units up till now. Every 100 unit that you make, you're going to sell it in the market, you will get some income out of it, and then you'll be able to pay fixed cost, right? Which is why we apply the fixed cost per unit, to understand that every unit has to bear how much of fixed cost, okay? But if I increase it to, let's say, 10,000 units, now it becomes $10. Sorry, $2. Okay.
Okay.
Now coming towards step fixed cost. Step fixed cost is going to be constant up till a certain level, but then it increases. Let's take an example that your machinery that you bought for production has a capacity of 1,000 units. Now you don't have money to buy additional machinery, but you want to increase your capacity up to 2,000 units, which means for 1,000 units, you had a fixed cost, you bought an equipment. But for the next 1,000 units, for this margin, you don't have the cost to, you don't have the money to buy the asset. So what you're going to do is you're probably going to lease it. Lease means you're going to take it from somebody on rentals. You'll pay them rentals. Okay. Are you
Okay.
clear about the lease idea?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, even lease is your fixed cost because every month you have to pay him. Yeah.
Yeah.
So your fixed cost was probably 10,000 at this time, but now you've taken another machine for lease. This would increase to 20,000 now. And then if you want to increase further and you want to lease another machinery, it would increase to 30,000 now. Okay. Are you clear?
Yeah.
Okay. Semi-variable cost. Semi-variable cost includes a component of fixed and a component of variable. For example, you have recently shifted to a house. Now you want to get the Wi-Fi connection in your house. So you're going to call that local area service provider, and he's mentioned that, okay, I am going to provide you with the services, but I'll take a fixed charge of, let's say, 100 Qatari Riyal. I'm not sure how much that is, but 100 Qatari Riyal. Okay.
Okay.
And then as you keep using it, for every GB, you know that the internet usage is in MB, KB, GB, right?
Yeah.
So let's say in every MB and in every 100 MBs, I'm going to charge you an additional cost. So let's say I'm going to charge you 5 Qatari Riyal for every 100 MB. So what am I doing? I am taking 100 Qatari Riyal fixed charge, and then as you increase your usage from 100 to, let's say, 200 to 300, I am also increasing my variable cost, variable charge, and your variable cost basically. So if you use 300 MBs, so 5 into 300, that would be 1500, and the previous 100 would be 1600. Okay.
Oh,
Any confusion in this?
no.
Now identifying cost behaviors. Fixed costs are in total, variable costs are in per unit. I've told you that. Semi-variable or semi-fixed costs or mixed costs, these are one and the same thing. Semi-fixed or mixed. These are one and the same thing. They have a total in constant, that is fixed component, and they have a per unit in constant, that is a variable. I've told you just now.
Oh,
And there could be a step fixed cost as well. So what are you going to do? You need to identify the cost behaviors. How will you identify the cost behavior? The most easiest thing is first look at all the costs. So if you see over here, they have given you the total cost in this table and they have given you the per unit cost in this table. Okay. First look at the total cost. What is the total cost? If you see cost 1 is changing, cost 2 is changing, cost 3 is changing. No problem. Cost 4 is remaining constant up till a certain level. My bad, cost 3 was also remaining constant. I did not look at it properly. However, right now we're discussing cost 4. It is increasing after 3000 units. Yeah.
yeah.
Which shows that from 1000 to 3000 it is remaining constant, and from 5000 to 7000 it has increased. Yeah. So this seems more like a stepped fixed cost. Why? Because it remained constant up to a level of activity and then it changed. Still, after changing, it went to becoming constant up till a limited level of activity, right?
Yeah.
So this is a stepped fixed cost. Coming back to cost number 3. Cost number 3 is constant throughout. It is not changing. So you should automatically get this thought in your mind that it is fixed then. Why? Because I told you that fixed cost is constant and total. Always. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now coming to the ones that seem to be a bit complicated. Cost number 2. If you see at 1000 units, it was 1920, then 3560, then 59,600, and then 13440 at 7000, which means it is increasing. Now, how do we know whether it is a variable cost or a semi-variable cost? So let's do one thing. Let's compute the cost per unit of it. How will you compute the cost per unit? 1920 divided by 1000. This is the lowest level of activity, so just pick that up and pick the highest level of activity. So 13440 divided by 7000. What is the cost per unit at this case? 1.92, 1.92, 1.92, 1.92. What is happening? The cost is constant in per unit. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I told you that any cost that is constant in per unit is your variable cost. Did I?
Yeah.
So this is your variable cost. Now, one last cost. 19,000, 33,000, 47,000, 61,000. Again, we don't know whether it is semi-variable or variable. Let's check 19,000 divided by 1,000 and 67,000 divided by 7,000. If you see 19 and 8.71, there is a major difference. Yeah.
Yeah.
So this becomes semi-variable cost. Why? Because this is not constant in total, neither is it constant in per unit. Okay.
Okay.
Now tell me, do you want me to continue or do you want me to continue on tomorrow's class?
Tomorrow's class.
All right. So do revise that so that we are going to continue from here only. Because after this, I need to make sure that I teach you how to identify the variable component and the fixed component from the semi-variable cost. So that is something that is going to be a bit complicated. So make sure that you revise all of this. All right.
Oh,
And I'll
okay.
speak to you tomorrow. Bye bye.
Bye. Thank you so much.